Welcome to this grand finale explainer. We're diving right in today because we are bringing it all together. We're looking at the complete industrial workflow of master batch research and development. We're going to take a raw customer sample and walk step by step through the exact process it takes to transform that into a final commercial product. So this isn't just theory today, folks. We are literally stepping off the textbook pages and right onto the factory floor. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with phase 1, analyze and understand. Then we'll move into phase 2, formulate and test, and follow that right up with phase 3, production and approval. Once we've nailed down the technical workflow, we'll pivot to a master batch career roadmap and finally wrap up with the 10 golden rules of success. So let's get into it. Phase 1, analyze and understand. This is where the magic actually begins. And it's funny, but the job really starts with the customer, not the chemicals. The fundamental golden rule here acts as a bit of a wake-up call. Wrong requirement equals wrong formulation. It absolutely doesn't matter if your lab skills are 100% flawless. If you misunderstand the brief, you're basically just going to end up with an expensive pile of brown sludge. So how do we avoid that total disaster? Well, we use a strict checklist. Before you even think about touching a beaker, you've got to extract some really precise details from the customer. What's the base polymer? Are we talking PP, PE, ABS? What is the final application going to be? Like, will this product be sitting out in the blazing sun, needing serious UV resistance, or is it strictly for indoor use? Is it going to be injection molded, blow molded, or extruded? Do they need it to be food safe, flame retardant? And what about the finish? Are they looking for a high gloss shine or a flat matte look? You literally have to nail down every single one of these variables right out of the gate. Once you've got those requirements locked in, it's time to analyze the physical sample the customer provided. And a crucial point here, please don't just eyeball it. We have to look way beyond the surface. You've got to strictly analyze the visual shade, the gloss, the texture, and the transparency. We need hard objective data. That means measuring your LAB star values and establishing your delta E target, which, of course, is your acceptable margin of error for the color match. Plus, you absolutely must identify the exact polymer of the sample. If they didn't tell you, you've got to use supplier info or your own internal testing methods to figure it out before taking another step. Phase 2, formulate and test. All right, this is the core of the R&D process. This is where the active decision-making really happens. Raw material selection is a totally delicate balancing act. It is not just about picking a pretty color off a shelf. You have to decide, are you going with an organic or an inorganic pigment? If it's a white master batch, do you need rutile or anatase titanium dioxide? Which specific grade of carbon black is going to do the job? And then you have to perfectly match that with your additive package. Do you need a UV stabilizer, an antioxidant, maybe a slip additive? The golden rule here is that your pigments and additives must be selected based on those specific application requirements you gathered in phase 1, not just what happens to look nice in the lab. Now we actually execute the first lab trial, and this workflow needs to be snappy. You take your selected base polymer, mix in your carefully chosen pigment and additive package with the right carrier, and create your trial compound for molding. Once that's molded, you immediately compare it to the customer's standard sample. And hey, if it doesn't match perfectly on the very first try, do not panic. Professional R&D absolutely involves running multiple corrections. It is a completely normal, expected part of the process. With every single trial you run, you've got to do a rigorous quality evaluation. You aren't just checking if the color hits that delta E target. You are checking the pigment dispersion, you're checking the gloss, testing the mechanical properties if the application calls for it, and closely observing how it behaves during processing. You've got to test its heat stability and its weathering based on where it will ultimately be used. A true R&D professional documents every single one of these results for every single trial. Believe me, data is your absolute best friend here. Phase 3, production and approval. Okay, now we're transitioning from that highly controlled lab environment to the wild realities of a large-scale factory floor. Once your lab formula is successful, it's time for a pilot production trial. And as you scale up, the variables completely change. You have to closely observe exactly how your formulation behaves on huge industrial machines. What's the actual machine output? How long is the cycle time? Is the dispersion staying consistent across a massive volume of material? And maybe most importantly, are you getting batch-to-batch repeatability? Because a formula is really only good if it works 1,000 times in a row, not just once in a tiny beaker. But here is the million-dollar troubleshooting question. What do you do if the results you get on the massive production floor are completely different from that perfect result you just got in the lab? The answer is incredibly emphatic. You have to review both the machine's process parameters and your chemical formulation. Don't just assume your lab mix was flawed, and definitely don't just blame the machine operator. A scale-up mismatch means you have to thoroughly audit both the physical machine settings, like your temperatures and screw speeds, and the chemical mix itself to pinpoint exactly where the scale-up failed. Once you've perfected things at production scale, you prepare for customer approval. And no, you don't just throw the product in a box and ship it. First, you have to secure your internal quality control approval and complete all the required documentation. You need to establish strict batch traceability so you can track this specific run basically forever. And you must attach all your test reports. Only then is it actually ready for the customer to review. If they come back and ask for a correction, well, you run a highly controlled trial and repeat the whole process.
The Masterbatch Career Roadmap.
Now, let's pivot away from the technical workflow for a second and talk about something a bit more personal, your career. Building a standout identity in color matching and R&D is a true step-by-step progression. In your first 6 months, you really must master the absolute basics of polymer science, pigment science, and color theory. By year 1, your focus should shift to deeply understanding processing and instrumentation. In years 2 and 3, that's when you're deep in the trenches, developing those advanced troubleshooting skills. And by year 4 and beyond, you start stepping up into high-level customer handling and cost optimization. That is exactly how you build a totally invaluable skill set in this industry.
10 Golden Rules of Success.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the absolute commandments of the industry. Number 1, observe first, then correct. 2, change only one variable at a time, otherwise you'll never actually know what fixed the problem. 3, always maintain your trial records. 4, understand the polymer entirely before you even touch a pigment. 5, never ignore the mechanical process. 6, trust your data and your instruments way more than your naked eye. 7, deeply know the customer's final application. 8, always verify heat stability. 9, maintain a really tight balance between cost and quality. And 10, above all else, learn something new daily. And that brings us to our final thought. You've got the foundational knowledge now, but the learning in this field never actually stops. The industry is constantly introducing new polymers, new pigments, and new additives every single year. The whole landscape is always shifting. So the real question is, are you ready to keep experimenting, keep learning, and keep expanding your practical knowledge right out there on the factory floor? Thank you so much for checking out this explainer. I really hope this structured breakdown gives you exactly what you need to master the R&D workflow. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.
Before you close this video, let me tell you a real industry story. This is not just about making a master batch. This is about what happened when one small mistake in R&D cost an entire company lakh of rupees. A customer from the automotive industry connected a master batch manufacturer with a simple request. We need this exact craze said delta E must be below 0.5. The part should survive UV exposure, heat aging, and injection molding. Annual requirement is around 600 tons. Sounds simple, right? The customer even provide a molded plastic component as a reference. The sales team immediately promised, no problem. We will develop in the 1 week. The sample reached in the R&D laboratory. The first thinking and experienced R&D engineer did was not start mixing pigment. Instead, he asked survival important question. Which polymer is this? PP, ABS, PA or PC? Resin on recycled material, indoor application, outdoor. Which processing temperature? Any UV weather resistant requirement, food contact or automatic standard? What loading percentage will the customer use? Injection molding, extrusion, blow molding, because one color can behave completely differently in different polymer. The same formulation in PP may become later in HDPE. The same formulation may become darker in ABS. The same pigment may degrade completely in nylon because of higher processing temperature. After understanding the application, the R&D team cut a small piece of the customer sample. They checked the color under D65 daylight, TL84 store light and incandescent light. Then they measured the sample using a spectrophotometer. The instrument displayed the LEV value. Now the team had numerical color data instead of only visual judgment. Next came the most critical decision: pigment selection. Should they use organic pigment or inorganic pigment, high performance pigment, heat resistant pigment, cost effective pigment, or a combination of all of them? Every decision would affect color accuracy, dispersion, migration, weather resistance, processing stability, and final, the customer approval. The first laboratory trial was prepared. The formulation looked perfect in pellets. Everyone smiled. But after molding, the color shifted. Delta E increased to 1.8. Completely reject. Many beginners thinking R&D ends after making pellets. Actually, real R&D start after molding. The engineer investigated every possible reason. Was the screw temperature too high? Was the pigment overdose? Was the titanium dioxide interacting with another pigment? Was moisture change the appearance? Was the base region MFI different? Was cooling effect crystallization? After investigation, the formulation was modified. Second trial better, but still outside customer tolerance. Third trial, now delta E reached 0.42. Excellent, but the project was still not finished. The customer requested UV hanging. The molded sample was placed inside the UV weathering chamber. Survival 100 hours later. Another color measurement was taken. Color remained stable. Next came heat hanging. Again, no significant shade change. Migration test passed. Dispersion test passed. Mechanical property passed. Everything looked perfect. Now the R&D file was hand over to production, but another hidden challenge appeared. The laboratory had produced only 5 kg. Production had manufacturing 2 tons. Scaling up is a never sample. The production machine had a larger screw, different shear, different residence time, different cooling, different feeding system. During the first commercial batch, the operator increased barrel temperature by only 15 degrees Celsius. Nobody noticed. Suddenly the shade became a darker carbon black. Dispersion changed. The customer's sample no longer matched. Production stopped immediately. The R&D engineer reached the shop floor. Instead of blaming production, he checked every parameter: temperature profile, screw RPM, feeder calibration, vacuum, cooling, water, raw material, lot number, moisture level, everything. Finally, he found the real reason. The titanium dioxide supply in the production batch had the slightly different tint strength than the laboratory lot. One raw material, one unnoticed verification, one complete shade shift. The formulation was corrected. The process was standardized. Detailed SOP was created. Incoming raw material inspection became mandatory. Each pigment lot was approved before production. Each production batch was checked using delta E. Visually inspection was standardized, written sample were stored, machine parameters were fixed. Now commercial production became consistent. The customer approved the batch. The order increased from 600 tons per year to more than 2,000 tons annually. The company didn't win because he made the correct color the first attempt. It won because its R&D team understood the entire workflow from understanding customer requirement, selecting the right raw material, developing the formulation, validating performance, scaling up production, controlling process variation, and maintaining consistent quality batch after batch. So remember this, a great master batch R&D engineer doesn't just know pigment, he understands polymer, he understands processing, he understands quality control, he understands customer expectation, and most important, he knows that every successful commercial product begins with the asking the right question, not mixing the first pigment. In the next master class, I will reveal the hidden R&D mistake that cause repeated trial failure, customer complaint, high rejection and high commercial losses, and how experienced formulation engineers solve them before the customer even notice. Don't miss it. Thank you.